What is the meaning of life? Where did I come from? These are just a couple of questions that all of us have ingrained inside of us. Evolution is a prominent theory today that attempts to answer at least one of these questions. It is believed by most modern scientists. It is the science that has taken over our public education system. Therefore, it must be true, right? Indeed, we have all heard,
evolution is fact.
Let's consider the words of Dr. Karl Popper. Who is Dr. Karl Popper, you ask? He was one of the leading philosophers of science in the 20th century. He said, quote, "Evolution is not a fact. Evolution doesn't even qualify as a theory or as a hypothesis. It is a metaphysical research program, and it is not really a testable science." End quote. Why would such a prominent figure state something so bold? After all, is there not evidence for evolution today? Is not evolution a fact? Today we will talk about why evolution is not a fact, despite the evidence that evolution brings. To understand this, perhaps it is best understood in the form of an illustration. Let's consider a detective. Let's give this detective a crime scene. For sake of illustration, we will call it a murder crime scene. As this detective enters the scene, he finds evidence. Now pause for a moment. What is your first thought when this detective finds evidence? It should not be, "Good, he's found evidence. Therefore, he will come up with the correct conclusion." No. Many times we ask, is there evidence that he missed? And more importantly, we ask, will he misinterpret the evidence that is found? Let's continue on with our illustration. Now let's say as this detective is on the crime scene, he finds evidence that appears to point to his brother as the murderer. He finds his brother's gun. He finds his brother's fingerprint on the gun. But the detective stops, and he says, no, in his heart. No matter what evidence I find or don't find, I will not come up with the conclusion that my brother committed this murder. What happens when the detective says that in his heart? How quickly he can come up with other conclusions. Yes, someone must have planted this gun here and put my brother's fingerprint on this gun. That is what happened. We can see through this simple illustration how one's bias can affect their interpretation of evidence. Can this not be applied to other areas of science today, even if it refers to the origins of our life? The truth is, whether you believe a supernatural being or force was involved in the origins of our life, or you believe in another theory, such as evolution, we all use the same evidence, but we simply interpret it differently. So then the question becomes, how do I know if the evidence is being interpreted correctly? There are two good ways to determine if evidence is being interpreted correctly. 1. We attempt to look at the evidence with the least amount of bias as possible. Simply, what is the evidence showing? Not, what am I trying to show through this evidence? And second, we can take a mathematical approach. If we apply statistical probability to our theories, we should arrive at one of two answers. There is enough evidence to support this theory, or there is not enough evidence to support this theory. So the question becomes, which view interprets the evidence correctly? We hope to answer this question in future videos. Thank you for watching.